my name is Gabby Porcaro. In a few weeks, I'm going to be a freshman at George Mason, and I really want to be a part of the Mason Ambassadors. So a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Rhode Island. I've never left here my entire life. I absolutely love music. It's like one of my biggest passions, even though I'm quite possibly the most tone-deaf person you will ever meet. I love the beach, and I love animals, and I'm also one of the biggest advocates about going green. My mom kind of refers to me as her recycling dictator because I make sure everybody in my house recycles no matter what. I can be kind of loud at times, but that's usually just when I'm having fun. And I also have these really crazy dreams of saving the world, as ambitious as that sounds. Starting to look for a school where I felt I belonged was one of the most terrifying experiences I had ever had. I knew by the end of my sophomore year of high school that I wanted to be a global affairs major. So after I decided that, I went online and I started looking at a bunch of schools. After I looked at all the different schools around the country that offered global affairs, I decided I wanted to be either in or around DC. So in the summer of 2008, my mom took off the time from work and we visited a ton of different schools. And all the schools in DC, I didn't really feel, they didn't give me that homey feeling. There wasn't really a college campus because the city was your campus. And although the schools were wonderful, I just didn't really like that. So on our second day of looking at schools, that's when we visited George Mason. And when I was driving into that campus, it was just trees lining the road, and everything was just so beautiful and welcoming. And then when I went on the tour, everybody just that we met and that spoke to us was so friendly and so welcoming, and they just had such a passion for George Mason, and I just knew the school was for me after that. So once I found out I was accepted into George Mason, I started doing a ton more research to find out everything else that the campus offered socially so I could really find my place in the George Mason community once I got there. And as I did the research, I just fell even more in love with the campus. The fact that George Mason is one of the greenest schools in the entire country, that just solidifies the fact that I belong there. And when I went to orientation, and instead of using like posters to point your way around the campus, the kids were like writing with chalk. I loved that. I love that it's so innovative in the way, in thinking and in the way that everybody does things on campus. I just know I belonged there. And then also the fact that George Mason as a community is so conscious about all the crises that are going on in our world today, environmentally, politically, socially, just in every way possible. I mean, I knew I belonged there even more. Like I said before, I have these huge dreams of saving the world, and the fact that there's a chapter of Amnesty International for the students to join, that sold it for me. And also Uganda Help, I know it used to be affiliated with Invisible Children. That is something that myself already out as a high school student, I've gotten involved with it. I'm on the Invisible Children mailing list. So George Mason just has everything I could possibly want in a school, but there's no other place where I belong. So as I'm about to leave Rhode Island, I am getting a little bit nervous. It's my home and I've never left here before in my life, but I know that if I want to be successful and achieve all the dreams and goals that I have for myself, I need to leave Rhode Island. And I feel like George Mason is going to help me do that to the fullest. Here, I've had a lot of the same friends for many years now. I was at an all-girls Catholic school for 10 years. And unfortunately, many of my friends recently have started going down a very different path than I have. A lot of my friends now are kind of getting into the stuff that unfortunately majority of the teenagers around the world are, with drinking and drugs and just all sorts of other illegal activities, and that's just something that I stay away from at all, like if at all possible. I grew up with a drug addict for a father. He battled the addiction his entire life ever since he was 17 years old. And I saw how taking one pill can just send a person in a downward spiral, and I'm so motivated and I have so many goals that I'm going to accomplish that I don't see how taking one pill could ever be worth risking that. Unfortunately, my dad did pass away a year and a half ago, and that's just made me even more steadfast in my beliefs. I'm not ever going to partake in illegal drug use. I know it would break his heart, and I want to make him proud by not making the same mistakes that he did. And I feel like leaving Rhode Island and being at George Mason, being at my new home, I'm going to be able to find a group of people that have the same beliefs as me, have the same motivations as me, and are going to really encourage me and make it even more possible for me to achieve every dream that I have for myself. So summer's coming to an end, but I'm so excited to start school. I'm ready to start that new phase of my life, and I'm so ready to start taking all these dreams that I have and make them become realities. And I know that at George Mason I'm going to be able to do that. I am leaving my home, but I feel like I'm going to my new home. George Mason's where I belong, and that's all that matters.
We live on